price of turnips drops yet again, sending a visible ripple of shock through the gathered figures. The female protagonist feels a dull disbelief settle in her chest as she considers the numbers laid out before her. It is reported that the farmers harvested the last of the green herbs just yesterday. If those herbs are sold now, the territory could secure emergency rations for roughly 3 days. 3 days, no more than that. Even so, the solution feels painfully inadequate. Green herbs are not an ordinary crop. They are the primary ingredient in recovery potions sought after by countless customers. Their value rarely fluctuates, let alone collapses like this. For the price of such a vital material to fall so sharply can only mean that something has gone terribly wrong. The female protagonist scoffs inwardly, bitterness rising to the surface, convinced that this situation is once again the result of that damn accursed girl's actions. In her past life, she was the eldest daughter of a family crushed under poverty, with one younger brother and one younger sister depending on her. Determined to escape that fate, she fought her way into a prestigious university and poured everything into her studies. After graduation, fortune finally seemed to favor her when she secured a position at a major corporation. Yet that fragile success came at a cruel cost. She died at the age of 27, her body pushed beyond its limits by relentless overwork. Death was not the end. She awoke possessing the body of a woman in a romance fantasy novel she had once read in her spare moments. In this new life, she resolved to choose the second male lead, the very story she remembered clearly from before her death. The novel itself had nothing to do with her. It followed a regressed female protagonist who sought revenge against the emperor who had used her and abandoned her to a miserable death. That protagonist seduced the second male lead and methodically destroyed everything in her path. In the end, she killed the ultimate villain, the emperor, and placed the third imperial prince, a royal born out of wedlock, on the throne. Penelope has no place in that grand narrative. She ends up marrying a northern countryside lord, a penniless baron, whose name barely carries weight in the story. Her husband dies merely a month after their wedding, killed by a monster. The shock of that loss unlocks her memories of her previous life in South Korea. Her point of possession comes dangerously close to the end of the novel. Long after the dazzling intrigues and dramatic turning points, she remembers skipping past most of those scenes while reading, never imagining she would one day live within their world. Now she stands as the wife of a northern ruler so insignificant that, compared to the original story, even the pillow the female lead rests her head upon seems to carry more importance than she does. If matters continue like this, surviving the coming winter will be nothing more than a distant hope. Emergency rations amount to only 2 months, worth far too little for a territory already on the brink. The tension escalates as differing opinions clash, voices rising in frustration over what should have been done earlier. Penelope withdraws into her thoughts. After her husband's death, the people of this land fall squarely under her responsibility. Their survival is no longer an abstract concern, but a burden she alone must shoulder. Winter approaches mercilessly, and the land offers little mercy in return. Yet, amid the growing despair, a fragile sense of relief surfaces. She knows the plot of the original novel. She knows what lies ahead. Turnips can be sold wholesale, even if their price has dropped, and herbs, despite the current turmoil, will remain in steady demand as medical ingredients. With careful effort and calculated decisions, surviving this winter should be possible. Beyond that, she already envisions her future. She plans to adopt a collateral descendant of the Hallows baronial family, pass the territory on to them once stability is restored, and retire while still young. In this life, unlike the last, she will finally achieve her dream: early retirement backed by wealth and security. Or at least, that is what she believes. For now, they are worried, above all, because no one could have predicted that trade with the Eastern continent would open overnight. That single, sudden change overturns everything. Penelope now stands on the brink of starvation, forced to clean up the mess left behind by the female lead. Life, she realizes bitterly, was never meant to be this easy. According to the original novel, it was the female lead who forged a new trade alliance and opened commerce with the Eastern continent. Merchant ships from the East flooded the empire with vast quantities of cheap yet high-quality herbs. As a result, the price of northern herbs plummeted straight downward. The people of the empire praised the female lead in unison, celebrating her for making recovery potions affordable to the masses. Meanwhile, the small northern lords who relied on herb sales to sustain their territories were driven to the edge of bankruptcy, just like now. What troubles Penelope most is not merely the cause, but the present. How long will they continue arguing over whose fault this is? Survival should be their only concern, yet the two vassal members persist in their bickering until the others finally intervene, demanding that they stop at once. Such disgraceful behavior, especially at their age, and in front of the acting lord no less, turns the entire situation into a farce. Penelope steps in and issues clear instructions. From now on, the turnips are not to be wasted. They are to be distributed fairly among the villagers, and dried properly, so they can be preserved as food. The immediate crisis must come first. At present, the castle holds only 10 days' worth of emergency rations for the villagers. Even if those supplies are withheld entirely and allocated solely to the lord's castle, they would barely last 3 months. No, not even that. In truth, there are only 10 days left. At this rate, declaring bankruptcy almost seems reasonable. She presses further, asking whether there are any other problems they have yet to mention. There are. When winter arrives, monsters will begin to run rampant, and mercenaries must be hired before it is too late. The territory is also critically short on magic stones, and replenishing them will require at least 50,000 gold. For the villagers to survive the winter safely, a minimum of 3 months' worth of emergency rations must be secured, along with firewood and water. As the list grows longer, Penelope briefly wonders whether she should simply run away. In other words, they are out of money. Even after coming this far, she cannot believe that money still dictates her fate. She feels the weight of the question pressing down on her. What on earth is she supposed to do? And how are they meant to survive the winter in this territory? Then she presents a solution. Borrowing money from the Imperial Bank. The reaction is immediate and severe. Shock spreads through the room, and one vassal member reluctantly points out that the Imperial Bank's branch manager would never consider lending to the Halo territory. The largest bank in the nation would not extend credit to a ruler's land standing so close to bankruptcy. In fact, it would not be surprising if the territory collapsed tomorrow. Penelope responds not with hesitation, but with force, slamming her hand against the desk. She declares that she will go to the Imperial Bank herself tomorrow and secure a loan. With that money, they will survive this winter. Another objection arises. The branch manager is merely a commoner, a man without even a single baronial title, granted by His Majesty the Emperor. For the wife of a baron to bow her head to such a lowly tradesman would be an insult beyond measure. If the late baron were alive to see it, he would be furious. Penelope remains unmoved. If they do not wish to starve to death, then perhaps they should be prepared to cling to the branch manager's trousers and beg. Her bluntness leaves the older vassal member stunned. No matter how dire the situation, a noble lowering themselves before a commoner is unthinkable in such a conservative ruler's territory. And yet, here stands the acting lord, openly declaring that she will do exactly that. She makes her stance unmistakably clear. If anyone present has a better solution, she demands to hear it. Otherwise, are they all prepared to starve to death together? At dawn tomorrow, she declares, she will personally head to the nearest Imperial Bank branch and face whatever awaits her. The scene cuts to the Imperial Bank. Inside the Grand Hall, people begin to glance around in quiet curiosity the moment Penelope appears. She herself does not appear nervous. After all, she once withdrew her own deposit here without the slightest hesitation. But this time is different. She wonders whether the branch manager will willingly lend her money. In the end, it looks as though she will be the one responsible for paying it all back. A fleeting thought crosses her mind. Perhaps she should just run away. There is no hope here. Within her thoughts, two familiar voices clash. The angel Penelope reminds her that the territory has only 10 days' worth of emergency rations left. Is she really planning to let everyone starve? The evil Penelope answers coldly that it should not matter whether they starve or not. They are barely managing to survive themselves as it is. The angel Penelope reacts in disbelief, questioning how such an outrageous thought could even form, and whether she is truly suggesting that everyone should simply be left to die. The real Penelope sniffles quietly, watching the two sides of herself argue without resolution. There is nowhere for her to run, nowhere else to go. More than that, she cannot abandon the people and simply leave the administration behind. At the counter, a clerk asks her the purpose of her visit. Mid-sentence, his eyes widen as he finally realizes that she is a noble. She introduces herself as a representative from the Halo territory, acting as the Lord's proxy, and states that she wishes to meet with the branch manager. The clerk quickly regains his composure and escorts her inside. Once the branch manager hears that she has come from the Halo territory, he immediately asks what business the Lord's proxy has with him. Penelope states plainly that she wishes to take out a loan from the Imperial Bank. His reaction is exactly what she expects. The recent opening of trade with the Eastern continent must have dealt a devastating blow. The main sources of income for Halo territory are herbs and taxes from its residents. Yet this year's harvest has been a complete disaster. From the manager's perspective, the chances of repayment are essentially zero. After briefly reviewing the records, he points out that there was an approved loan for Halo territory 6 years ago. If she is willing to put the farmland up as collateral once again, he can lend her 100,000 gold. Penelope can hardly believe what she is hearing. 100,000 gold is nowhere near enough. She asks whether he can reconsider, whether he can be even slightly more accommodating given the circumstances. The manager refuses outright. Even if she were to beg and plead, the farmland in Halo territory simply does not possess a higher collateral value than that. She argues that even so, if they could just make an exception this once, it should be possible. However, the manager raises his voice, declaring that she has clearly misunderstood. A bank, he insists, is an institution that provides loans based on the profitability of the customer. A request does not become valid simply because it comes from a noble. His tone carries open disdain. She senses the implication behind his words and, without further protest, lowers her head and presents what she has brought with her. This action immediately angers the knight beside her, but Benny Lopez stops him. Benny calmly intervenes and states that she is prepared to put the Lord's castle up as collateral. At this, both the knight and the manager fall into confusion. The knight cannot believe what he is hearing, wondering how she could offer the Lord's castle as collateral, as if she were prepared to give up the entire territory. He attempts to speak to her, but she quietly asks him not to say anything more here. From her expression, the knight understands that if she fails to secure a loan today, people will die. The manager, now intrigued, asks how much she is requesting. She responds that she needs 1 million gold and asks that the bank lend her exactly 1 million gold. The manager considers this for a moment, then smirks. In his mind, Halo territory lies close to the Grand Duchy. If the land is cleared and villas are built for nobles, or even if they merely extract what can be salvaged from the territory, recovering the loan would be quick and easy. She then adds that she would like the repayment period to be set at 1 year. The manager inwardly mocks her, thinking her a foolish customer and concluding that noble ladies must be completely ignorant of how the world works. Outwardly, he agrees with enthusiasm. He declares the terms excellent, sets the interest rate at 10%, and states that the payments will be made monthly. She accepts the conditions without hesitation, but requests that the loan be issued in imperial gold coins. This demand leaves the manager utterly stunned. Since the emperor's death, numerous side effects have surfaced, one of the most prominent being the sudden and violent rise in prices. Where an apple once cost 13 coins, it now costs 300. The value of ordinary currency has plummeted and continues to fall with each passing day. Gold coins, which remain stable, are therefore in extremely high demand. The manager apologizes deeply and explains that there are not many gold coins stored in the vault. He adds that even the notes issued by the Imperial Bank are still reliably circulated, and suggests providing the loan by check instead. The knight scoffs inwardly, wondering whether the manager truly believes he would hand over imperial gold coins for a place like Halo. She, however, remains composed. She makes it clear that if the bank cannot provide gold coins, she will simply take her business elsewhere, specifically to a rival bank. She reasons that a sly and greedy manager there might even be willing to hand over 2 million gold to the Lord's proxy of Halo territory, especially since a 1-year repayment period would be like a ripe pumpkin rolling straight into his lap. At this, the manager hastily revises his stance. He claims that he must have been mistaken about the amount of gold coins stored in the vault. After a brief pause, he corrects himself again, insisting that there is no need to wait at all, and proposing that they write up the contract immediately. In this way, she finally secures the loan. Once everything is settled, she begins to wonder how she is supposed to repay 1 million gold within a single year. The knight suggests that, if there is time, they should head to the market. She immediately refuses, and instead says that they should go to the stock exchange. The knight is taken aback by this decision, but she calmly instructs the coachman to head there at once. In her mind, there may be a stock that is about to rise suddenly, and she intends to seize that opportunity. At the trading company, Chaos fills the air. Someone shouts for others to hurry up and buy, claiming that Russell construction stock is dirt cheap now and practically being given away. At the same time, another voice cries out in despair, cursing ruined fortunes and accusing scam artists of deception, declaring that he might as well throw himself into the river at this rate. This is exactly what a medieval stock exchange feels like. As expected, it is a complete mess. The death of the emperor signals the collapse of the traditional forces that once supported him. Trading companies run by conservative factions are unable to escape this downfall, and in the end the damage is borne by innocent individual investors. The female lead, consumed entirely by revenge, likely did not have the energy to consider such consequences when she killed the emperor. Not only did she crush the northern minor territories, but she also shattered the stock market in a single blow. Penelope wonders whether she should call this impressive or label it as something else entirely. Her knight asks whether she plans to stay here any longer. She already knows the original storyline, which is why she came here hoping she might gain something, but it is not exactly easy to explain that reasoning to others. She quietly tells the knight that she had not planned to mention this, but there is some incredible insider information she heard through her father's friend's cousin, and that he should simply trust her on this. The knight, hearing this, can only hope for a stroke of luck, thinking that the Baroness must truly be desperate to manage her estate. Penelope, meanwhile, thinks to herself that she should first find the catalog. After searching for a while, she finally comes across it. Eastern Continent Shipping and Trade Company stocks are already a sea of red. Western Temple construction is also doomed, as the female lead is destined to destroy it. She continues scanning the listings, knowing that there has to be a stock that has not yet been discovered. Then her eyes stop on one name, Durek Railroad Company. The moment she sees it, the name feels strangely familiar. Suddenly, it clicks in her mind. This is the railroad company that the female lead secretly invested in. In the original story, the emperor, seeking to spread wealth and power that had become excessively concentrated in the central regions of the continent, combined magic and alchemy to establish a railroad company. The Durek Railroad Company was something the female lead casually planned during the latter half of the original story. Penelope had not expected it to be created this early. Because it has only just been established, the share price is still extremely low. One share costs 50 gold. With 100,000 gold, she could purchase 2,000 shares. The original story never went into detail about the final outcome of the railroad business, but as the story approaches its conclusion, some major event is bound to occur. This gamble might actually work. An administrator notices her interest and welcomes her, stating that if she wishes to buy or sell stocks, she is free to ask him. Penelope makes her decision without hesitation. She states that she would like to purchase 2,000 shares of the Durek Railroad Company. The man advises her against investing such a large amount there, recommending instead that she purchase only about 100 shares. She refuses outright and insists on investing the entire 100,000 gold. At the sight of such a vast sum, the man is utterly shocked. When he realizes that the payment will be made in Imperial Bank gold coins, his attitude stiffens with formality. He asks her to wait a moment while he issues the stock certificate. The act itself becomes a powerful display of wealth and confidence. The knight then asks whether they should leave now. She agrees, saying that it is almost time for lunch. Just as they prepare to depart, someone suddenly calls out to her, shouting that there is a serious problem. The knight immediately asks what is happening. The man explains that the third-grade herbs have dropped to half their price again. The knight reacts in disbelief, exclaiming that it cannot be possible, as the entire cart had been worth nearly 10,000 gold. The poor farmer confirms it. He explains that the better the condition of the herbs, the higher the price, but because they were rushed onto the carts, northern herbs have now become almost worthless. He adds grimly that many people in the north will likely starve to death this winter. Murmurs spread through the crowd. People begin to realize that this is not merely someone else's problem, but something that could very well lead to their own deaths. Penelope knows that this outcome was inevitable, just as she had expected. Without hesitation, she asks where the cart carrying the green herbs is located. The farmer answers that it is nearby. She instructs her knight to follow the cart, saying that they need to go somewhere else. The farmer tries to dissuade her, pointing out that even if they sell the herbs elsewhere, they will not earn more than 5,000 gold. She calmly replies that they are not heading to the market. She has heard that there is a branch of the magic tower nearby, and that is where they should go. Soon, they arrive in front of the magic tower. Inside, two men are working. One of them, an elderly man, complains about how exhausted he is after sleeping only 3 hours. He asks the other man whether he cannot simply go somewhere else and sleep. Growing irritated, the old man snatches a book away from him and shouts in frustration, demanding to know why that troublesome person will not just leave them alone. Penelope wonders how much farther she must climb. When she finally looks up, she questions whether this can truly be the entrance at all, and even if it is, she has no idea how one is supposed to get inside. 30 minutes later, she and her knight finally arrive, both of them standing there in doubt, wondering whether this place is really the Tower of Magic. She hears figures being recited with mechanical precision. A storage stone costs 20,000 gold. A purification stone costs 10,000 gold. An elderly man, without lifting his gaze, informs them that if they want to deal with a magic stone barrier, they must go up to the second floor. Penelope briefly wonders whether he is actually speaking to her at all, but he continues uninterrupted. A magical tool designed to track a cheating husband costs 30,000 gold. If she desires a love potion, she will need to visit an alchemist instead. And for clarity's sake, every claim that such potions are influenced or altered by emotions is nothing more than fabricated nonsense that should not be believed. Her knight bristles with anger at the man's rudeness, but Penelope stops him. She cannot help thinking about how busy this man must be to keep staring at his documents even when a customer is standing directly in front of him. It is her first time seeing a magician among magicians, someone who treats miracles like routine paperwork. Her thoughts drift to the Tower Master. A Tower Master is a magician who has reached the ultimate realm, a being said to possess the power to split mountains and force rivers to flow backward. She remembers that the Tower Master who appeared in the original work was described in exactly those terms. As she recalls this, doubt creeps in, and she wonders whether coming here was truly the right choice. Still, she states her purpose. She explains that she has come to the tower to sell herbs. The old man finally reacts, looking at her with disbelief. He remarks that he cannot believe there are still people who do not know that herbs have become worthless, and he wonders aloud whether she has come from another dimension altogether. In response, Penelope takes out the item she has brought. She presents a green herb, complete with its stem, leaves, and flower buds still attached. It has been only 2 days since it was harvested. The moment the old man sees it, his eyes flash. He fixates on the fact that the stem and buds are still intact, and he declares that such a thing should be impossible. Penelope asks herself whether this old man is truly all right. The old man, however, speaks as if awakening from a long stupor. He says that it seems both of them have noticed that this place is not in good condition, and that the situation, as they can plainly see, is truly dire. Yet thanks to the two of them, he has been able to realize something that has weighed heavily on him for a long time. Because of this realization, he thinks he may finally be able to sleep properly, even if only for about 10 minutes. If things go particularly well, perhaps that rest could even stretch to 15 minutes. By coincidence, Penelope has been searching for green herbs with their stems intact. Typically, green herbs are made into potions using only the leaves. However, in truth, green herbs can be used in a wide variety of ways, far beyond what most people commonly believe. The stems and flower buds of green herbs possess remarkable benefits. The one who accidentally discovered this fact is the Tower Master himself. Because it appears only casually in a side story, Penelope does not know the precise details, but she understands that it must be knowledge obtained through countless experiments carried out by a wizard in the novel. By this point in time, the tower would have already discovered the true use of green herb stems and flower buds as well. She also knows what this timing means. By now, the northern farms would have already plowed up their herb fields and fled because of the trade incident on the eastern continent. In other words, she is currently the only one who possesses green herbs with both stems and flower buds intact. She suggests 300,000 gold to be paid entirely in magic stones. This shocks the man even more. Magic stones are essential for protecting villages from monsters, as they are used to maintain village barriers. While magic stones can be bought in regular markets, they are usually acquired through the magic tower, and buying them directly from a wizard is far cheaper. The man admits that this is a proposal he finds dangerously appealing and asks whether she will call him Lector. Penelope agrees, shaking his hand, and assures him that everything will be ready by this afternoon at the latest. She then asks until when she can obtain the magic stones. Lector replies that he can prepare them by that same afternoon. Penelope adds that she would also like to hire a wizard to work in her territory, someone capable of setting up a magic stone barrier in preparation for winter. Lector explains that hiring a wizard costs 100,000 gold, and that the magic stones for the barrier are charged separately. Penelope responds that in that case, she will only accept magic stones worth 100,000 gold in exchange for herbs. Lecter comments that she is truly astute, noting that this arrangement will make things much easier for him. Penelope then asks when the wizard will arrive. Lecter responds by telling her to wake up, because a request for a magic stone barrier has already come in. She is confused by what he means, until she notices Lecter speaking to someone else, asking whether he had said that he wanted to work. Uncertain of whom he is addressing, Penelope looks around. Suddenly, a man stands up and demands to know what is going on all of a sudden. The two of them lock eyes, and Penelope thinks that he looks unusually gloomy. The man then tells her to get lost. She is taken aback, wondering if she heard him correctly, but he repeats his demand for her to get lost once more. Confusion washes over her as she wonders what on earth is wrong with this man. Lecter strikes the man, scolding him that this is hardly something a person should say. He orders him to clean himself up, get some sunlight, and actually meet other people. The handsome man reacts with irritation, questioning what kind of nonsense that is, while Penelope cannot help but feel that there is something seriously wrong with his personality. Lecter reassures Penelope, explaining that even if the man appears unimpressive, his skills should at least be decent. He tells her not to worry, because if any issues arise with the magic stone barrier, the tower will take responsibility and handle the repairs afterward. At that moment, the man approaches Lecter and complains about him spouting nonsense, muttering that he feels stifled. The two of them stare at each other, eyes widening, when the man suddenly declares that he will only work an amount equal to 100,000 gold. For a brief moment, Penelope feels as though their eyes meet directly, and she wonders whether that strange sensation is real or merely her imagination. She calls out to Lecter, who asks whether there is a problem. In a low voice, she asks whether he happens to have another mage available. It is not that she entirely distrusts this man, but she is worried that he might be too lazy to perform the job properly. Lecter responds that, unfortunately, there is no other mage currently lazing around in the magic tower. What he truly means is that there is no other mage available at all. With no other options left, Penelope hesitates. She still does not fully trust the man, but since the magic tower has promised to take responsibility for any problems with the barrier, she has no choice but to believe them for now. She then asks whether, by any chance, they know an alchemist they could introduce her to. She also needs an alchemist to work in her territory. Lecter turns back toward the gloomy man and remarks that, as it happens, this very man possesses fairly decent knowledge of alchemy. In fact, Lecter adds that he may have more talent in alchemy than in magic itself. He goes on to say that if Penelope can offer 50,000 gold, the man will take care of alchemy-related tasks as well. This revelation shocks Penelope completely, because it is only a fraction of the full price. The man remarks on it. When he speaks, he at least asks for his opinion, but Lecter argues back. He says that he has already made up his mind, and admits that he has been feeling troubled lately because his thoughts have become too numerous and tangled. He even states that he would rather take on a mission to defeat the Demon King than continue drinking until he passes out, just to stop thinking. With that decision made, he suddenly runs off, saying that he should hurry to the carriage and bring the herbs first. The two of them are left alone. The man then calls out to Penelope, explaining that he is only going to do as much work as she has paid for, and that the rest will be up to her. She scoffs at him inwardly, thinking about what a stupid man he is. The next afternoon, she purchases an additional 2,000 shares of Dudic Railroad Company stock. She then loads the empty wagon with essential supplies and food and departs from the magic tower. Now, the two of them are in the carriage. This is a fantasy world teeming with monsters, and from a management standpoint, it is better to hire a single wizard than to bring along a group of mercenaries who might have criminal pasts. As long as a barrier using a magic stone is set up, it should protect them from mid-tier monsters and below. Higher-tier monsters usually come out of the deep forest, so there is no real need to worry about monster attacks anymore. She notices that the man is sleeping deeply, and there is not a single thing about him that she can fully trust. However, Lecter has sent a letter stating that if the hired wizard neglects his duties, the local magic tower branch will send a replacement at their expense. Since there is a warranty and after-service included, it should be fine for now. She has managed to put out the immediate fire. It is still a bit unsettling, but she has hired a proper wizard and bought emergency rations to stock the warehouse. Including the money she invested in stocks, she still has 800,000 gold coins, along with magic stones and purification stones, worth a total of 150,000 gold. That should be more than enough to last until next year. She only needs to hold out until next autumn. By then, the Duduk railroad stock should have risen significantly. The point at which she has possessed this body is near the end of the original story. Since romance fantasy novels always end happily, the female protagonist inevitably lives a joyful life that repays all the hardships she has endured. As a result, the railroad business she is running will undoubtedly become a huge success. Life, she thinks, really is about that one lucky shot. If she lays the foundation to develop the territory and drafts a solid business plan, she will probably be rich by the time the territory becomes self-sufficient. She wonders what she should do once she becomes wealthy. She imagines living in a house with a big garden, eating delicious food, and enjoying a happy life with a handsome husband. Then, suddenly, in her dream, she sees the face of that lazy man. She wakes up, wondering what kind of nightmare that was. At that moment, she notices that the lazy man is nearby, surrounded by something like blue lightning, and he speaks as she realizes that she is finally awake. It hits Penelope that this is exactly the same thing her ex once said to her. The blonde man keeps insisting that she must be asleep, yet ever since he left, he has been unable to sleep at all. Only now does he realize how precious the time they had spent together truly was. Penelope cannot help but notice that all his recent success seems rooted in heartbreak, and this realization makes her snap immediately. The man continues to occupy her thoughts, and she inwardly wishes that he is the most miserable person in the world. At the same time, Penelope resolves to simply pretend she hasn't seen any of it, forcing herself to ignore the tangled emotions swirling in her mind. The scene then cuts to someone approaching her, remarking that they had heard she borrowed a full 1,000,000 gold from the Imperial Bank branch. They say it is truly impressive, and that she must have worked incredibly hard. Penelope explains that out of the 1,000,000, she used 200,000 gold to purchase stocks recommended by her father. He assured her that the stocks were guaranteed to reach the upper price limit next year, so she planned to hold on to them a while before selling. A vassal then comments that advice from her father must be reliable. As for the smoked ham and flour loaded onto the carriage, she intends to ensure that they are distributed evenly among the estate's residents. When the residents hear the news, they are overjoyed, nearly shedding tears. After all she has done, they recognize that she has truly done a remarkable job. Penelope hears stories that they had to run everywhere to borrow money, and that it must have been incredibly difficult. One of them says aloud that the state has the capacity to repay a debt of 1,000,000 gold, yet even covering the interest on the principal would be a struggle. Regarding the collateral she offered to the Imperial Bank, she has finally come to reveal it. She explains that she used the Lord's castle as collateral, with a repayment period of 1 year and an interest rate of 10%. Immediately, the residents erupt in outrage, barking at her that how does she expect to repay 1,000,000 gold in just a single year? They declare it ridiculous, arguing that putting the Lord's castle up as collateral is no different from giving up the entire state. Penelope tries to calm them down, saying that the bank manager would not lend that kind of money to their shabby state for free, and that they should have braced themselves for such risk from the start. One of the residents admits that the treasurer is right. They are on the verge of starving to death and are worried more about appearances than reality. The treasurer steps forward, assuring Penelope that he will do everything in his power to repay the debt, even if it means working himself to the bone. He is confident that they will find a way to survive within the year. Penelope considers the first step. She concludes that they must call the merchants and summon the merchant guild leader. The food supply they purchased and brought in is far from sufficient for the estate's residents to survive the winter, and immediate action is essential. She decides to allocate 100,000 gold for the treasurer to purchase food for the estate's residents. In addition, she approves an extra budget of 200,000 gold so that he can pay the soldiers and workers, as well as secure the materials and supplies necessary for the maintenance of both the inner and outer walls. She suggests that they discuss the rest gradually. With the remaining budget, the total amounts to 500,000 gold, which, she notes, is 20 gold per person, enough to manage until next spring. And that thought brings a small sense of relief. The treasurer remarks that all that is left now is to properly gather firewood for the castle. She responds with an exclamation, but one of the men proposes an alternative. Rather than logging firewood themselves this year, they could consider purchasing it. Using underfloor heating with coal would be far more efficient than fireplaces. Both of them look confused, and she, startled, insists that this was not what she meant. Yet as she thinks about it, She wonders why she had not considered it earlier. If she had to pick the most inconvenient aspect of this world, it would be the brutal cold of winter. The stone walls of the Lord's castle, as well as the homes of the residents, lack structures that prevent chilling drafts from sweeping through gaps in the wooden walls. This is also why people are never able to take off their shoes indoors. She suddenly considers the possibility of installing underfloor heating, and an idea strikes her. She realizes that she could develop a business project capable of running on a statewide scale. However, she knows it is necessary to first check if it is practically feasible. She decides to discuss the idea with the mage and report back once she has a plan. One of the vassals asks if she means the maid who arrived with them in the carriage at dawn. She confirms that this is correct. The man adds that if the maid is still asleep, it seems so, and that he will make sure a meal is ready for him as soon as he wakes up. Since they have already been paid, they only need to ensure he is fed and has a proper place to sleep. The deadline is set for this winter. Once he finishes his meal, he is to be brought immediately to the office. The vassal members respond with understanding, promising to serve him with the utmost care and dedication. It would be wonderful if things could continue to flow this smoothly, yet they know all too well that life rarely follows such orderly paths. The mage, however, merely says to do it again. The mage examines the food set before him and immediately recoils at its state. The meat reeks of fish, the vegetables have wilted beyond recognition, and the bread is dry and crumbly. The sauce covering the dishes is far too oily and overly salted, making the entire meal unpalatable. Frustrated, he demands that the dishes be remade. The chef, clearly exasperated, complies but only reluctantly. A vassal, observing the tense interaction, reports the situation to Penelope, seeking her guidance. She instructs the vassal to summon the visitor to her office and to serve herbal tea, as well as any accompanying scones. Once the arrangements are complete, the table is set, and Penelope sees the wizard arrive. He appears exhausted, leading her to wonder if he is even capable of using magic in his current state. She greets him warmly, inquiring if he has slept well. The wizard, however, responds curtly, suggesting that his appearance should make it obvious, which irritates her intensely due to his rudeness. He then observes the surroundings, noting the territory's extreme poverty and the dire condition of the land, suggesting that it would be better to let it go bankrupt rather than attempting to sustain it. His reputation for spreading rumors after breakups precedes him. Despite this, Penelope remains composed and invites him to sit, presenting her carefully prepared tea. He critiques the dust around the room, subtracting points in his silent assessment, but she remains optimistic that matters will be fine. Curious, the wizard inquires about the tea she is drinking. She explains that it is brewed from young green herbs and encourages him to try it. She elaborates on the properties of various herbs. Red herbs are anti-notch, blue herbs increase magical power, and green herbs are primarily used for health recovery. While herbs are generally used in potion making, she recounts that, since recalling her past life, the value of green herbs has plummeted to 1/3 of their former worth. This inspired her to experiment with alternative uses, including brewing tea from them. She discovered that drinking green herb tea produces beneficial effects. Although the effects are not as immediate as potion consumption, the tea gradually alleviates accumulated fatigue, making it an excellent gift. The wizard remarks that this method of brewing is an innovative idea, something that only someone with insight might conceive. He proceeds to taste the tea and concedes that its aroma is not unpleasant. Penelope then offers him scones, made from whole wheat flour, which traditionally should have a rough texture. Upon tasting them, the wizard is surprised by the unexpectedly soft consistency. When asked if it meets his approval, he admits that while it lacks authenticity, it is not unpleasant. At this point, Penelope prepares to reveal her true intention. She presents a page she has been working on and asks the wizard to examine it. He immediately recognizes it as the drawing she was scribbling moments before and initially regards it with mild disdain, considering it arrogant for her to presume that an ordinary design could be instantly understood by him. Nevertheless, he advises tempering expectations. He queries the nature of the drawing, to which Penelope responds that it is a design for a heating system. He is momentarily taken aback. She explains enthusiastically that while commoners endure harsh winters with firewood or layered clothing, nobles use massive magic stones to heat entire buildings. However, for commoners, acquiring costly firewood or large magic stones is burdensome, particularly in winters with strained economic resources. Penelope continues to elaborate on her design. By connecting pipes to groundwater near the well and installing a plumbing system along the outer walls, water could be heated and circulated, thereby warming the building efficiently. The wizard, impressed, questions whether she truly understands the system, and she affirms that he has indeed seen it. At this revelation, he cannot help but acknowledge her brilliance, recognizing that her ingenuity and practical approach could make her a valuable candidate for the magic tower. Penelope expresses her concern that the pipes might oxidize over time, but she reassures the wizard that they can simply coat them with a magic stone to prevent corrosion. When he questions the presence of a wolf in the plan, she explains that it is intended to use magically heated water in the bathroom. She continues by noting that the pipes will need to connect to the waterway, though a subtle unease lingers as she contemplates whether this might be more difficult than anticipated. The wizard, curious about her workforce, asks how many dwarves she plans to hire. Penelope explains that she is considering hiring just 2 for now. The wizard erupts in disbelief, shouting that the minimum number required is 10. She calmly replies that even hiring 2 dwarves strains the already precarious budget, as they are nearly bankrupt. The wizard leaps into outrage, incredulous that she would attempt to manage such a demanding project with only 150,000 gold. When he inquires about the actual budget, she corrects him. It is only 100,000 gold. At that moment, a magical familiar pen appears, astonishing Penelope with its sudden arrival. The pen begins to write automatically, suggesting that a sensor and a circulation pump are possible solutions. She questions whether creating such a sensor might be too complicated, and the pen indicates that a manual operation method, such as turning on the boiler whenever room temperature drops, could also work. They decide to refer to this magical device as a boiler, officially named a double boiler, noting that a manually operated system could be produced more quickly and would be more suitable given their cost constraints. Satisfied with the arrangement, the wizard departs. When she inquires about his whereabouts, he merely closes the door without answering, leaving her simmering with frustration. The next day, she continues her work when the wizard returns, reminding her that once the design blueprint is complete, he intends to apply for a patent first. He places the structure on her desk, proposing that he takes 70% of any profit while she receives 30%. Penelope asserts firmly that if he expects 30%, she might only then consider his proposition. Furious, he shouts that her blueprint design is nonsense, claiming that she has failed to account for magical engineering entirely. She calmly points out that, of course, she is not a wizard. The wizard notes her youthful appearance, barely 20, and wonders silently where a woman like her could possibly come from. He requests that she call him Ahwin, to which she responds that he may also address her as Baroness. His anger flares at this, scoffing at the notion, questioning where the Baron could be while his wife labors tirelessly managing the estate. Penelope coolly informs him that the Baron passed away 2 months ago. The revelation plunges them into an awkward silence, which he breaks by mentioning that the dwarf will arrive that afternoon, so he plans to take a quick look outside the castle. She questions whether he will eat before leaving, but he dismisses the concern, stating that he will eat upon returning. With that, he leaps away, and she watches in astonishment as he manifests a magic cloud, flying through the air without chanting a spell. The sheer purity of his mana is extraordinary, as wizards capable of flying magic without incantation are extremely rare. While observing him, he muses silently that green herb tea aids in fatigue recovery, wondering how she could have conceived such an idea. The most peculiar aspect, in his view, is that she does not even realize how unusual her insight is. Yet, he resolves to continue watching, determined to uncover the reasoning behind her seemingly inexplicable ingenuity. The scene shifts to someone pondering over a design blueprint, wondering who could have created it. Observing the intricate plans, they realize that following the blueprint precisely could drastically reduce costs compared to the existing heating system. Penelope considers the possibility of constructing pipes from a raw material cheaper than copper, and the engineers explain that they would first need to experiment with various materials, though it seems quite feasible. This innovation could make heating systems more accessible for common people who cannot afford marble. She envisions the benefits: heating water through a fire in a furnace, achieving higher thermal efficiency than a traditional fireplace, and utilizing the heated water for both underfloor heating and bathroom use. If the system can be realized according to the blueprint, it promises to be a groundbreaking invention. Vin, the wizard, has personally worked on all the magical engineering aspects of the blueprint. The dwarf marvels at Vin's abilities, proclaiming him an extraordinary genius. Penelope, impressed by the dedication and potential of their work, decides to provide them with a suitable house within the Lord's castle so that they can conduct their experiments. The dwarf assures her that they will guide her as instructed, and the meeting concludes. The scene transitions to Penelope working, while being followed by a figure whose persistence puzzles her. She turns to confront him, questioning where he is going, and he insists he is going nowhere, merely observing her. She attempts to dismiss his company, emphasizing that it is unnecessary, but he interrupts her, provoking her anger. Her eyes widen as he alludes to a past incident, something she initially does not understand. Gradually, it dawns on her that he might be referring to her husband. She reassures him mentally that there is no need for concern regarding that matter, and walks away. As night falls, Penelope lies in bed, reflecting on a maddeningly confusing and hectic day. Her mind drifts to the moment she learned of her husband's death. What troubles her most is the uncertainty of her future. From the beginning, her marriage was purely political, and her feelings for a man she barely saw, whose presence was limited to their wedding night, are complex and ambiguous. The reality of her situation diverges sharply from what she had hoped for, leaving her both frustrated and contemplative. The next day finds Penelope immersed in relentless work, so absorbed that her eyes feel as if they are going to pop out. She shouts in frustration, questioning who in their right mind would impose the cost of managing a night's ordered lodging in spring or fall. This is not her first encounter with the pressure of quickly devising a business plan for the territory under her charge. As she pores over documents in search of any information that could aid her plan, she realizes that all the valuable insights from previous work have already been exploited. From this point onward, she must rely entirely on her own ingenuity and initiative, requiring a complete transformation in her approach to problem solving.